Welcome, my dear students. For today, we have to have an idea concerning Unit 3, Lesson 6, Student Book, page 31. If I had been fitter. من خلال Lesson 6, Unit 3, we have to listen to a movie director talking about finding the right career, إيجاد المهنة المناسبة. He is explaining what happened when he tried other jobs. Complete the captions, نكمل التعليقات under each picture. وننتبه من خلال Lesson 6 راح نتطرق إلى third conditional اللي هي impossible, imaginary, الشرطية الثالثة لمواقف مستحيلة أو مواقف خيالية. This condition we use third conditional to talk about unreal situations, مواقف غير حقيقية in the past. على سبيل المثال, if I had passed the test في الماضي, I would have become a pilot. إذن في الماضي I didn't pass the test, so لم أجتاز الاختبار، لذلك لم تكون المهنة لي هي مهنة الطيار. We can also use the third conditional to express regret. جملة الشرطية الثالثة if I had been fitter تشابه جملة regret if only or I wish I had been fitter. If we had trained harder, جملة الشرطية الثالثة we might have won the match. وهذا ما راح ناخذ بالتفصيل إنه regret تشبه جملة الشرطية الثالثة على إنه جملة الشرطية الثالثة يضاف إلها المين clause we might, we could, we would have won the match. The verb in the if clause بالشرطية الثالثة جملة الإف clause تكون past perfect مثل الندم، ماضي تام، يعني نحتاج الهاد والهادت والتصريف الثالث للفعل. بينما المين clause الجملة الغير مسبوقة بالإف ويوز ممكن would have أو الاختصار did have للwould أو might have أو could have. ولا تنسون بالإف كلوز والمين كلوز بالشرطية الثالثة احنا بحاجة إلى الفعل يكون past participle بالصيغة. إذا نرجع إلى الكابشنز بالبيكتشرز، إلى التعليقات الموجودة بكل صورة، ونكمل التعليقات بما نسمعها من خلال اللسنين. I started training to be a doctor, but I was scared of blood. موقف غير حقيقي. كنت رد أصير طبيب لكني أخاف من رؤية الدم. Number 2 or we have number 3. I considered studying engineering, but I was scared of height. I wanted to be a pilot, but I failed the eye test. I tried to being a policeman, but I wasn't fit enough. I wasn't a good tour guide because I didn't speak enough languages. فكلها مواقف untrue غير حقيقية in the past tense بصيغ الماضي. ننتبه إلى ملاحظات أساسية ب third conditional إنه the verb in the if clause، وهذا تطرقت من خلال البوكس الموجود ب student book page 31 إنه الفعل في جملة ال if clause is in the past perfect tense. had, hadn't و past participle of the verb جملة ال if. In the main clause we use would have، اختصار الwould بالشكل التالي might have, could have plus past participle of the verb. هذا الشكل ال if clause الشرطية الثالثة. جملة ال if ماضي تام، المين clause بها would have و past participle of the verb. نجي على استعمال الشرطية الثالثة. We use third conditional to talk about unreal situations، مواقف غير حقيقية become pilot. I didn't pass it, so I didn't become one. We can also use third conditional to express regret about the past. If we had trained harder, we might have won the match. We didn't train hard, so we didn't win the match. Use the third conditional to talk about imaginary events and results in the past. If we had إذن مواقف خيالية أو نتيجة أحداث imaginary events and results ونتائج in the past. أحداث خيالية أو نتائج حصلت في الزمن الماضي. على سبيل المثال, if we had known about the problem yesterday, we could have solved it. But we didn't know about the problem, so we didn't solve it last night. أمثلة على third conditional من خلال the following example. Pay attention. What would we have done? لاحظت وجود would have past participle. If our car, إذا بما أنه عندنا المين clause would have تصريف ثالث, إذا نحتاج إلى past perfect. Our car had broken in the desert. Number 4. If I not have the operation, I would have died. If I hadn't had past perfect, hadn't والpast participle الفعل had the operation, I would have died. You meet my Aunt Selima. If you had come to our party, you would have met my Aunt Selima if you had come to our party. If we had left a little earlier, we would not have missed the bus. What would you have done if nobody had come to rescue? If Selwa hadn't told me about the new time for the class, I would have been really late. إذا بعد أن أخذنا فكرة عن third conditional, imaginary events, the student book, if I had been fitter, page 31. Now we have to go back for activity book, page 62, for unit 3, lesson 6, exercise A. Match the beginnings and the endings of Mustafa's sentences. وكل جملنا تتطرق إلى third conditional وimaginary events. Number 1. I would have trained as a pilot if I had passed section E, the I test. Number 2. I would have been, انتبهوا, would, might أو could ممكن كلها استعمالها plus have plus past participle of the verb. Number 2. I would have been a doctor if I hadn't been section B, scared of blood. Number 3. I might have become an engineer if I hadn't been scared of height. Number 4. I would have stayed in the police force if I hadn't been section D, so unfit. Or number 5. I could have been a good tour guide if I had spoken section C more languages. Exercise B. Make sentences in the خطوط تحت third conditional. The third conditional, don't forget, if the clause past perfect, والmain clause would have plus past participle of the verb. Putting the verbs in the correct form. Number 1. If I had known, if the clause past perfect had known about the problems, I would have lent her some money. Number 2. If we had left a little earlier, we would not have missed the bus. Number 3. We would have, or we wouldn't have, عندكم not eat. We wouldn't have eaten at the restaurant if we had known it was so expensive. Number 4. I would have studied medicine if my parents had had enough money. had تغيروها أن يكون عندكم noun not a verb. عندنا enough money noun to pay for the course. Number 5. What would you have done if nobody had come to rescue? Number 6. We could have died of thirst in the desert if Adam and Ali hadn't come for us in their truck. Number 7. If Selwa hadn't told me about the new time for the class, I would have been really late. Exercise C, page 63. We'll complete these sentences in the third conditional. Use a preferred verb in the correct form. Number 1. You would have met my Aunt Selima if you had come to the party. Number 1. I wouldn't have missed the plane if I hadn't got up so late. Number 2. We wouldn't have come there if we had known about the snakes in the bushes. Number 3. If we had looked at the map, we wouldn't have got lost. Number 4. If I hadn't had the operation, I would have died. Number 5. You wouldn't have broken your ankle if you hadn't worn those ridiculous shoes. Number 6. If you had stayed in bed and rested, you would have got better more quickly. Number 7. She wouldn't have got sunburned if she had worn a hat. Or number 8. They would have won the match if the best player hadn't been sent off.